Hello, and welcome to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers.com podcast. My name is Dean Jackson, and today we are talking with Scott Tonges from Durango or Pagosa Springs, Colorado, close to Durango, where my good buddy Jeff Walker lives. Now, Scott, I think, is in a situation that a lot of people find themselves in. He's got a lot of specialized knowledge over a lifetime career of helping people in real estate as an investor, as a broker, as with commercial and investment real estate. And he's got the heart of a teacher. And he really wants to share that information with people. He just didn't know where to start, where to focus his attention, because he could do so many things in so many different ways to help people. So we had a great conversation about where to start, how to think through the process. And I think that you're going to find this very valuable if you're trying to narrow your focus to a single target market. And you may be surprised that in doing that, we started with Scott and what would be a dream come true for him. So join us and let's listen in as the conversation unfolds.
Scott,
Yes.
it's Dean. How are you?
Hey, Dean, how are you? Good to speak with you.
Nice to speak with you. How do we say your last name?
It's Tonges.
Tonges. Okay,
You only have-
perfect.
you only
Scott
have to learn one.
Tonges.
Right, you only have to learn one.
So tell me, where are you calling from?
I am in southwest Colorado near Durango, a little mountain town called Pagosa Springs.
I know all about Pagosa Springs. That's
Do
funny.
you?
I do. I have a good friend, Jeff Walker, who lives in Durango.
Yes,
And-
I know Jeff and his launch programs.
That's
I
right.
know of him. I don't know him, but I know of him.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I am excited to talk to you. We've got the whole hour here to hatch some evil schemes. So why don't you kind of fill me in on what you got going on and where you think we might be able to
I think my
have the
biggest
best
issue.
impact here.
I think my biggest issue, Dean, is trying to figure out what I am.
Okay.
So much of the ideas from folks like you and everything are about growing a business, and I've kind of reached the point in my career that I'm not sure what business I'm in anymore.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do is shift more into the information marketing business as a teacher.
Mhm.
I've been in the commercial real estate business and done everything from brokerage to management, some light investment, and I've done houses later in my career. So I've done about everything you can do with real estate. So
Mhm.
the dilemma I've got is that, like right now, I'm doing a newsletter and I'm trying to ramp up where that goes and maybe get some form of advertisers to help supplement a larger distribution. But even then, I'm looking and I'm thinking, I think my message is very confusing because I can do about everything from brokerage to coaching people, and I think maybe that's more of the new investors. I'm just in a dilemma. I guess one way would be to pick the largest profit for the least amount of effort area. But again, as I move in from investor to teacher or to information marketer, I guess I find myself trying to do both, so I don't want to leave anything on the table, which is probably suicide. Because if you send a mixed message to people, they don't know, where you fit into their world.
Right, exactly. And that's all anybody cares about is how you fit into their world.
Right.
So that is an important thing to realize. Even the only person having multiple target audiences is convenient for or relaxing for is you. And even then it's confusing because you don't know how to, it's like you're trying to ride several horses at one time, right?
Exactly.
It's easy when you're on one horse. When you're on one horse and it's going in one direction, that's the easiest thing. Well, let's start. So we could pretty much, a lot of times people come into this with a business that's operating, that's going, that is, we're looking to improve stuff or to to make an impact. But it sounds like you're kind of at a crossroads where we could invent whatever it is that we want to figure out what we want to do.
That's a good term, a crossroads.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have a business that's going on right now? What are you doing right now that generates
I'm sending a newsletter out to income property owners, and I've been doing that for about 6 months. And the first client I got from that was the first mailing. Actually, it wasn't even the newsletter; it was a letter. And he calls me. Actually, he's based in Durango, and he's a great guy, and we get along. In fact, I just had breakfast with him 2 days ago, and he's pulling $6 million out of a refinance. But he's like a lot of guys that are in that league that own multiple properties. They're very self-made, and he loves my books. He loves my approach, blah, blah, blah. But then he is so used to doing things on his own as an entrepreneur. He's sort of in that league where I could help him, but he's going to probably go his own way no matter what. So it might lead to 1 year's worth of breakfasts, once a month, and I don't make any money. So I think, I look at that dilemma, and so I'm mailing the newsletter out, and basically the newsletter, low-key kind of shows me, I'm basically teaching people all sorts of tricks on income property. And but then I don't know if they know what I do. I mentioned brokerage, but, and then I mention investor, and I think maybe, and I offer something. I offer a free book, and I've had 2 takers on that out of, I'm just mailing like a couple hundred folks, and and we haven't gone anywhere beyond that because I didn't do a follow-up letter as such, so that was my stupidity. So I'm trying to work on the back end of my system, but again, I get back to the area. One of my options, Dean, is I work multi-city, and I could be one thing in one city and another in another. One, I could be more of a teacher to a mail-out group in one city, and then I could be more of a kind of a investor to another city, and kind of see which of those started to catch hold. So that's one area. But again, my ultimate goal would be more of an information marketer on making money in real estate. So maybe I ought to focus on what I want to do the most, but I'm hesitant to leave anything on the table.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you get in that sense here, So part of it is figuring out what you really want to do, what you're really fascinated and motivated by, right? If you could just wave a magic wand and set up any situation you wanted, what would you be doing in the during unit? If you said, listen,
I would like to be a trainer and a teacher, and I've got a home study course, and I'm putting together the monthly things behind the course. I've got some of the key components are done, the books and the tapes and all the CDs and whatnot. So if I could do anything, I really want to get into the information marketing business, deal less with people on an investor or broker level, or even eliminate that if I could, and really become a teacher. And I think it was an article that somebody wrote a book about 1,000 fans.
Okay.
And, I could do great with 200 fans. So I think then I have to ratchet down, I think, my target market from the fellas like the one I just mentioned who are they're full-time real estate guys, et cetera, to younger, say probably younger folks or newer investors that are, maybe they own a couple of fourplexes or something. But I think those people probably need my service more, and maybe that's probably where I need to start focusing. That's my goal as far as if I could wave the magic wand you mentioned, would be to really be a trainer and teacher, because I've got decades of experience.
Okay. And then what does that look like? Like, let's dig into this trainer teacher. What does it look like if you're in the midst of training and teaching? What are you talking about? Doing big seminars, doing one-on-one?
I would not be adverse to doing that. Like, I know there's you could do the monthly mailing, and then maybe have a couple or 3 tiers of price points of information. So I think my first step would be to get monthly mailing to.
So I'm not worried about that. Let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about. I'm thinking about that. This is dumb. What are you actually doing here? I mean, is it? Would you prefer to, on a scale, work where you're speaking to hundreds of people, where you're working with 12 people in a boardroom style, or 30 people in a classroom style, or one-on-one over breakfast? What's your
30
where's
people
your
in a classroom sounds like a good deal to me. In addition to the monthly thing, and those are probably most of those people.
Yeah, so 30 people in a classroom, and this I just want to kind of begin with the end in mind, and let's get a clear picture of purely for you. We're going to build it for you first,
and I haven't
right?
done that yet. That's probably my problem, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, it all starts like that, right? And I'll tell you something very interesting in conversations like this, because I had a conversation with Dan Sullivan. Do you know who Dan Sullivan is?
No, I don't.
He's the founder of Strategic Coach. I'm in his program. He's been, a mentor of mine for a lot of years. And we had a conversation almost 6 years ago now, almost like this, of saying, he was talking about your unique ability. And the way he articulated it was different than he'd said it in the past. We were having a conversation, and he said, what would be the thing that would fascinate and motivate you for the next 25 years? Right, like that. And it was pretty interesting to me, because for me, what fascinates and motivates me is applying the 8 profit activators to all kinds of different businesses. And so that is something that was great for me. We talked about, I prefer doing it in small groups that are interactive. And so I had this vision of doing a boardroom style event with 12 people and spending 3 days just applying the 8 profit activators to their businesses. And when we got off the phone, I went and I called the Celebration Hotel, which is right down the street from me, and I booked the boardroom. They had a great boardroom there. And then I sent out an email and invited people for my first event. And I filled it up, and then I've done, probably 60 or more of those events now, all over the world. I do them 9 times a year, and it's exactly what I like to do, is to spend 3 days. It's a great amount of time with a small group, and we have great discussions, and it's completely fascinating and motivating to me. And so it started with that idea of what do I really want it to look like? So if I look at, for you, these 30 people in a classroom, how long is that? I mean, how often would you like to do that?
I could do that, at least once a month.
Okay. And when you look at it, would it be like a, would you see it being like a weekend type of event, or an evening event, or an all-day thing?
I'm thinking like an all-day event, and kind of an interactive. I would certainly be teaching, and then get with talk to them about what they didn't understand, or explain things to them.
Perfect.
Kind of like a one-day training once a month, something like that would be my preference.
That would be great, right? Okay, and that's a good start. Now, when we look at this, then that's what you would love it to look like. Now, you've got so much knowledge there, so much to choose from in the things that you've experienced and the things that you've done. And, you're mentioning books that you've written, so you've got a lot of wisdom to share. What would be the topic that you would love to talk about more than anything?
My principal, not my goal, but my principal teaching is to help people create lifetime passive income with income properties.
Okay.
And most people try, get into the housing arena, and that's fine, and you can make good money with that. But there's no, they kind of avoid the small building, the small office, the small shopping center, that sort of thing, and to create lifetime passive income, basically. And I can even teach people how to start without cash or credit. That sounds like a pitch from every guru in town, but it is true. And basically move them either first to start off into small commercial properties, or to move or add from houses to small income properties. But the goal or the payoff to them is lifetime passive income.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Small property portfolio.
Yeah. No, I like that. And that's going to be when you think about it now, it's kind of on point in a lot of ways. People uncertain about what's going to happen with shopping malls and strip plazas and commercial office buildings and stuff like that. Those are becoming less and less attractive, I think. But even no matter what happens, if we move to be more of a renting society, that somebody's going to own the real estate that those people live in. And we always have to have a place to live. You don't have to have an office anymore. You don't have to have a retail storefront. So you're on trend. I mean, it makes total sense that way. So to keep that focus there is great. Now, do you see that you would envision doing these classrooms in one place, or would you see yourself doing the same class, doing a road show kind of thing?
I think a road show. What I teach is universal, with minor exceptions. It really applies everywhere. Yeah. And so if I went, did one deal in Miami one month and a deal in Santa Fe the next month, and that's fine with me. And that would actually be my preference, and not like I'm gone a week or so, but that would be attractive to me, and I think beneficial to them. And if I had to say, based on what you were saying about how the world is sort of unfolding here, apartments and warehouses may be the two things to focus on, because maybe people are a little confused about where retail, brick and mortar retail is going, and even office, because as you say, we can automate darn near everything these days and don't have to be in a specific place.
The robots aren't going to be Class A office space, right?
I think warehouses, because they got to store stuff that they're shipping, even though they may have
all
done the
this
whole deal
office furniture. Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't want to be in the office furniture business in the coming years, I don't think.
No, exactly. So, do you see this? What you could, how you could interact with people in as a one-time thing, that they come to your class and then you wish them luck and off they go? Or do you see, would you want to, or be willing to, or be excited about an ongoing relationship with the people?
I think an ongoing relationship is critical, and I think that these people are not going to learn everything in one day. But that's right. I think a kind of seminar call, maybe once a month, to answer questions, or have them send in emails over the course of the month, and maybe once a month or twice a month I answer a bunch of those questions and have a few people on the phone. That would be part of it. And then the monthly mailings, where I'm kind of teaching them and giving them real world examples. So I kind of see a mini a mini ongoing relationship with these folks.
Right. Now,
I don't need 1,000 people to do this.
If we look at this, knowing what you know, and with that kind of a focus here, what would be the best thing that you could do for somebody? Like if somebody would get out of your way and put themselves in your hands and say, Scott, I'm going to do whatever you say.
Right.
What would that look like? What could you do for somebody?
I can teach them how to make money if they don't have money to become an investor. First of all, I want to help. I want them to be comfortable being an investor, because a lot of people don't do this because they think it's complicated or whatever, and in truth, it's actually pretty darn simple. Because after all the years I've been in the business, it wasn't until I kind of put all these pieces together, because I've been in every area of the real estate business and I spent about 7 years in each specialty just because I got bored and I wanted to learn something else. So I went from apartments to shopping centers and to warehouses, and I've done every one of them. So I came to the conclusion that they're all really simple and they're all based on the same couple of formulas. So what I could help them do, if they had money to invest, $50,000, let's say, or $100, I could help them get started and coach them into buying properties that allowed them to expand a portfolio. If they didn't have money, I can show them how to. In fact, I kind of show that in my latest book about how to make money without any investment using options and contracts and things like that. So I can take them from zero to being comfortable, because I kind of throw a lot of stuff at them to show them that this is all the same game and they can choose whatever they want to do. But the goal is to help them create a portfolio of small properties that give them passive lifetime income. And other companies manage it. I mean, even small properties can be managed, and you can work multi-state. You don't have to stay in your own backyard. Everything I do is out of state. Every investment I've ever made is out of state, and I live in this little mountain town because I have the ability to live wherever I want and do business elsewhere. And a lot of it never leaving my office.
Right, exactly. That's awesome, right?
I think there are attractive features here, but anyway, finding the right market for it, understanding their concerns, and addressing that is kind of the challenge. But I like what you're talking about what I can bring to them, and then what business model I can set up that I like.
Yes, exactly. So when you look at this, let's take somebody. If that's how confident are you in your ability to take somebody with no money to being? What could you do for them? In what would be the time frame? What would be the window of the timeline of what would happen? What could you do with them in
a year? In a year or so, I can help somebody generate, say, $50,000 or more that they could use to start to, do small property investment. I'd say a year, depending on their comfort. They may decide that, hey, this is great. I don't invest anything to speak of, and there's some, mail out money, sending a few letters out. So they may decide, hey, that's all I want to do, and that's great. But my goal is to get them to be property owners. So I would say, somebody could make $1 in 60 days, depending on what area or what they were comfortable with, and that may be with houses and stuff. But so I can help them. It's not like, hey, in about a year I'll help you make $50,000 if you can finally understand all this stuff. That's not necessary.
Right. Okay. And so then what would happen in the next, if they had $50,000, let's say, so we're starting with two groups. They don't have 50,000. You can show them how to get the 50.
Yeah.
And if they had 50.
Right. Without borrowing or anything like that, and or bugging their uncle or anything. So the next step, I would show them how to maximize and how to look for properties that will actually, at the extreme, and they can, depends on their comfort level, but I could show them how to recoup that money out of their first investment after they probably a turnaround property that, maybe it's a 70% occupied, warehouse or something like that. I can show them how to buy these things, typically distressed deals, so that they can refinance and pull their $50,000 back out while keeping the property, this first property they bought, and then they can take that $50,000, or maybe they pull a little bit more out of there, get some of their equity out that they created by turning the property around, and then they could go buy the second property and repeat the process.
Mm-hmm. And that process would take how long?
What I tell people I can show them how to do is in about a 5-year period, without going full bore. This is like a part-time endeavor. In a 5-year period, I think it is totally doable that they could create a $50,000 to $75,000 a year passive income, depending on the turnaround opportunity with the properties they bought. So 3 to 5 years to build a $50,000 to $75,000 a year passive income, have created $600,000 or more in equities, and have a small property portfolio. I mean, you only need a 20-unit apartment free and clear, as an example, to make $75,000 a year in a middle market, not San Francisco, but so it's not like they've got to go buy, end up with 15 properties. So it's 3 to 5 years. I'd say 5 years very comfortably. I mean, they would start to see results within about a year, within months actually, because I could help them, get the seed capital, as I call it. But there's really 3 steps to the process: earning seed capital if you don't have it, investing in a first income property wisely, and then third, to parlay that one property into multiple properties.
Mm-hmm. So that's different wherever they are, different phases. They can graduate.
Yeah, nationwide. And choose the property type that you're comfortable with and the situations you're comfortable with, because there's a lot of ways to do these different things.
Now, how would that work? Have you done that have you helped people through this process?
I've done it myself, and I've been involved in every stage of the process myself, and I've worked with people at every stage of the process. But it wasn't until I brought all this together with my own knowledge that I created sort of a game plan, a pattern, if you will, and that's the pattern I wish to teach people.
That's it. I call that an algorithm, right? A scale-ready algorithm. That's what you've got here. That now, the first thing would be, how long would it take you? What level of time commitment and involvement with somebody would you have to get them to that level? Let's start with the person who's earning the seed capital, showing them how to get their $50,000.
It's sort of up to them as to it's not like they need to devote a lot of time to it. It's a matter of knowing what to look for, and that in itself is fairly easy. So it's not like they've got to, quit their job, and I would never encourage anybody to do that, because you don't need to. I mean, in the same way somebody's learning to pick stocks or play the stock market or whatever their investment interests are, they could devote some of that time to learning this process. So probably, let's see, I'm trying to think. Again, my whole program to get them to at least $50,000 a year in passive income within 5 years or less, depending on if they repeated the process. I'm assuming they start with one property and use that one property and parlay it into a few over 5 years. If they repeated the process each year, let's say getting the seed capital so that they could accelerate it, they could do even better. So, but sort of my time commitment with them, I think a lot of it is because I'm pretty self-taught, but not everybody. I don't think I'm looking for needles in haystacks. I think there's a lot of folks that would pursue but I can basically give them the direction, then answer their questions. And like I say, once every couple of weeks, I could speak with them or, a group, a handful. I don't want 100 people on a call, but maybe there's, 10 or so people on a call. And as I answer questions for one, others pick up, kind of get the answer to their problem or whatever. So it's not a big time commitment on my part. I could probably easily help a dozen people that were actively interested in doing this. We could talk once every couple of weeks, and again, if they're studying the training materials in a sense.
I gotcha. Now, when you look at it, that part of the way, that one of the questions that I always ask as a clarifying question is, what would you do with them if you were only going to get paid if they get that $50,000 in seed capital?
What would I do only if it?
Yeah,
only if
like
it was
what do you
payoff?
know? Part of it, and the reason that I say that is because so often we start thinking about the things from a curriculum basis of what you need to teach them or what you need to educate them. And there's a difference between being an educator and being a result getter,
Okay. Different thing.
Yeah. Right. And where if somebody's paying you to educate them, you kind of take this sort of passive director of sharing the knowledge, and then they go out and do it, and you answer their questions about it. So you're there as a support, but you're not invested in their outcome. Right. And I don't say that. I'm not saying or suggesting that that's how you do it. I'm saying this exercise of thinking that way really helps clarify, because you might take a different approach if it doesn't matter how much time you spend with them, as long as they get the $50,000 in seed capital. It doesn't have to take a year, and you don't have to do 20 weekly or biweekly phone calls with them or this number of classes, or you're not packaging it up and bundling it as an information course or package. I'm just saying to you, what would you do if you only got paid when they get the $50,000?
How would I structure what I do with them?
Yeah. What would you? I mean, how certain are you? First of all, if I gave you
comfortable, actually that would be great, because in my view, as I've done with a couple of my investor clients, I let them pay for the mail outs, and we've had results from those mail outs. I'm working on some things right now, and so I'm kind of doing the work, and they're funding the activity. But I think if somebody I could certainly share in the profits with them of anything that we created. I don't have an issue with that. In fact, I would kind of like that. So if I've got 10 students, that's 10 more of me, if you will, who I'm directing, because I have no employees at this point. I used to have 100, but that was another was the management business. But I think if I could, if they wanted to help me, and I'd be kind of a participant and really coach them as if it were my deal too, but they would get the bulk of the deal. I've got no problem with that. Some people might just want to be educated. Others might want to be educated and helped. It was kind of what the two differences I think you're saying there, right?
Yeah, I mean they might want to be. The only reason that they would want to be educated is so that they can get the result, right?
That's right.
I mean, that's really. That would really be the thing. I don't think that if people paid for the course that they're going to just take it for interest's sake, right, and be interested in it.
I know a lot of people. I mean, I've done it myself. You see a great idea and some guys teaching a course, but you don't pursue that, but you don't want to let go of the information. So I think not everybody will take advantage. They may just buy the $90 a month course, which is kind of segmented training, but those that want to do more and let me help them out, within the limits of how many people I would feel comfortable doing. So maybe there's 80, or maybe there's 100 people on the monthly training, and they can join the conference calls monthly or bi-weekly or whatever if they want. But then of that 100, let's say, maybe there's a segment, maybe there's a dozen people that say, hey, I really would like your help, and I'll do, I'm going to do some mail outs, and you tell me what to do next, kind of thing. I would be fine with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting thing that perhaps, you could help the 10 taking a hands-on approach, and the documenting of it, the documenting of the journey is
that becomes
part
more
of the
information stuff.
Of course, that people could observe, exactly, right? That they're observing through this, and some people may want to graduate up to work with you in that way.
I can put together kind of what they would need to do. I mean, it take not big money, but they need to be able to do some mail outs and stuff like that, but nothing noteworthy.
Right, exactly. And so when you look at that, you think, what would be if you were going to take, well, I'll start with one. If you start with one person, are you 100% confident that you could get that person to the finish line?
Yeah.
Get them to a point where they raise $50,000 in seed capital.
Follow the steps and work with me. I can do that.
Yeah. And then, what about if you had 10 people?
Same thing. There may probably be a limit because I couldn't keep track of all the. Well, I could.
Right.
Today you can keep track of a lot of stuff that you couldn't. 25 years ago. But I could do that with 10 or a dozen people. Yeah.
And there's kind of the thing, so I think that when you look at it, this first group, the first thing that you're going to do is potentially the setting up the model, that has an outcome now. That if you take people that are that have an interest and are very interested in pursuing this, and set out to take them through a 1-year process here,
right,
with the intention that they raise at least $50,000 in seed capital,
right,
at the end of the 12 months. Now, if Gary Halbert had a great provocation, a great way of thinking about this. If I said to you that I'm going to give you 10 people, and September 1st, we're going to start with those 10, and on September 1st of next year, if any of those 10 people have not made $50,000 in seed capital,
right,
you're going to be beheaded.
Yeah.
How would you feel about that?
Gun to the head letter, is that? Or,
yeah.
Is that what he calls it?
Yeah.
I would feel okay with it.
Okay.
The opportunities are out there. I just can't be everywhere and don't want to be.
I gotcha. Okay. And so part of that now with the technology and the ability to document everything that you do, the first time you do this, it's original work, right? You're kind of creating it as you go.
Right.
You're documenting everything. And then the next group would be even easier, because now you already know what, and somebody could fulfill most of the time element of it, right? Somebody, because once you know what to do and you have demonstrated that you can work with 10 people and get them that result, that somebody else who knows what you did should take that recipe and work with 10 more people with your help, with you overseeing the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you got 50 people in the mix.
That's exactly right. So you're creating that as you go. Now, and then what the next level of that would be, of course, is that you take the people with the $50,000 in seed capital, and you take them on that next journey of turning that $50,000 in seed capital into $50,000 or $75,000 a year in passive revenue in 3 to 5 years or whatever that turns out to be.
I only need to work with a handful of folks. Again, there will be some that will be just, information absorbers, and then another.
No, and you want to cut that out. You want to make this. So if you looked at it, if your life depended on this, who are the 10 people? What are the traits or the commitment that the 10 people have to make in order for you to be comfortable with that?
That I'm going to ride the horse with them.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to put your life in their hands, in a way, right? What would who would those people be? What would be the conditions that I say you get to pick the 10 people? Mm-hmm. How would you describe the people that you want?
I can kind of I know a few of those. I know a handful of those people right now who've bought my books and stuff like that. Actually, one has already bought their first fourplex, and I think that somebody like that who's actually demonstrated that they're, maybe, and that may be part. Maybe that's the starting point, is not people completely fresh out of zero, but needing to raise the seed capital. But maybe they're somebody that's already owned a small, maybe they've just had a rental house or something like that, and they want to do more with it. That would, to me, rather than somebody that's, working at Dunkin' Donuts, though those people pop up too once in a while. The guy working at Dunkin' Donuts that wants to do this, he may not be as good a candidate, or at least he would be a smaller percentage of those kind of folks would be the ones, but it may be that's the folks as the target market for me to get started would be the guy that owns the rental house or two, or the fourplex, or something like that, that's already demonstrated a willingness to take risk isn't really necessary, but they've taken the first step, but they don't quite know where to go from there. Mm-hmm. That would be, those would be the kind of folks that I think would appreciate what I can do for them, and they would be the kind of folks that I believe I could sincerely help and would like to ride the horse with them.
So when you look at it, that now you're narrowing the field, right? So they already own. Right. They already own one investment property, maybe. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that may be a really good target, and that's kind of when before I spoke with you, it kind of forced me to think when I was looking at your select a single target market. Well, again, as I said, my mistake is I've been broadcasting too much.
Yeah.
And I think narrowcasting, because now that you have kind of shown me what I want to create, and then we've sort of reverse engineered who I start with, that really clarifies things a great deal. Mm-hmm. So that kind of person that's already, has already jumped off the diving board and is in the pool but doesn't quite know where to go next, that's the one that I can help.
Perfect. So this is good. I mean,
over there drinking a beer and looking at the diving board, he may not be the one. So that really helps isolate. And my gosh, there's a ton of those people out there.
I get it. And this was the thing.
That's the biggest market there is.
Perfect. I mean, we have a program for real estate agents, and our sweet spot is not the brand new agent, but the agent who has been in real estate for 1-2 years, who lives in a market of more than 20,000 people, who personally works with buyers and sellers, who's got time to work with at least 2 new clients starting next month, is friendly and coachable. That's the person. That's the characteristics of who we're looking for.
Okay.
And so even just from when we started the conversation to now, the clarity in the way that you have a focus on a particular person is a big advantage, because now you know who you're gonna, you know what you want to do, you know who's the best person that you could help with that. Now it's just a matter of how do we find those people, right? How many of those people do you already have in your sphere here? That already know who you are.
Probably, I don't know, probably 50 or so, like that know who I am, and that I don't know how many are at that early stage, but I know where to get them. I mean, I can put together a list of fourplex owners. I've already got that. I've got about 100 small property owners like that, and I could put together 500 in 24 hours if I needed it. So I know where they are.
Yep.
But I think as I've been broadcasting, they get left in the lurch because they don't, they see me talking about things that may be a little advanced for them, and so I realize I don't have a unique selling proposition to that specific early starter investor.
Yeah, and so there's the thing with that narrowed down your early starting investor, and the outcome of being able to describe to them what it is that you're looking to help them with, and then just being able to see if those people would be interested in something like that.
That really clarifies a lot of stuff, because I realize I've just been kind of going in every direction, seeing what pops, but in reality, trying to narrow down who I can help and who will eventually fit into what I most want to do and we'd be most excited about doing. That's a big step. Because I get very frustrated with the guys, like I just said, who's pulling the $6 million out. He's a great guy, and I love to have breakfast with him, and we talk, and I might get injected in a deal here or there or whatever, but they're rare birds, and they're tough to work with. I mean, they're pleasant, but they've been doing this for years, and they're so set in their ways that I'm not going to really teach them a lot. It's so funny.
Very similar, like when I break down the real estate world, we even have names for our avatars, who they are. So if I look at it, we break them into 4 different categories, and our first category is Betty. And Betty is the brand new real estate agent, right? She's all excited. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know about all the paperwork yet, or how to actually have a sales conversation with people, or it's all new, but she's got high hopes. Then we've got Veronica, who's been in real estate for 2 years. She's made it. She's got her feet on the ground. She's working with clients. She knows what to do. She's turned into a competent real estate agent. She just needs more people to work with. She's going to be on her way, right? Then there's Ginger. And Ginger is the stereotype successful realtor with the Cadillac and the assistant and the buyer agents, but it's all about Ginger. She's always busy. It's a whirlwind of activity around her. And then everybody knows a couple of Gingers, right? And then there's Martha. And Martha is building an organization. She's building a team with some structure, with buyer agents and specialists and, lead managers, all of that stuff, building an organization. And our best spot, the thing we can have the most success with, is taking a Veronica and having her build her organization with our systems, right? Building on that to grow her team into Martha, if that's her aspiration.
Or Ginger,
where we
her aspiration is, yeah. Okay.
Where we sometimes run into more difficulty is when somebody's already Ginger, to try and retrofit now our systems and things into an already busy system and already set in her ways of how she gets business now. Yeah. That's always been a little more uphill than somebody like Veronica, who's got time and can really build on this, you know?
Right.
And so it sounds like that's kind of what you're saying, is that your ideal client might be somebody who's at that Veronica level in a way, right? You would have a different name for them, but they've already got one property. They've made that jump to not aspiring investor, but they are an investor, a beginning investor.
Keep your analogy. I think my career has been very often with the Marthas, if you will, of the real estate business, almost exclusively. And on the investor level, and when I try and take everything I've learned over the years, I've kind of lost track of the Veronicas in the world because I've been so used to working with the others. But they don't really need me; they're very independent people. And it's like you're saying, Martha probably wouldn't give you the time of day because she's got the world by the tail. But the Veronicas are desperate for that help.
Yes.
That's who you've helped me focus, again, in part because I'm reverse engineering what I want out of the world, because I really love to teach people.
That's what it's got to start with.
To my house, I'll send you, if you're driving from Texas to here in one directions, man, I'll tell you where to stop and who to talk to and where to get lunch. I really like to show people what to do and in detail, and meet them at their level too. But that's really beneficial. I mean, it really changes my whole direction because I've really been confused by the people I work with versus the people that need my help.
That's great.
I haven't separated them because I haven't looked at my target of what I want to.
Yeah, you got to start with you. What do you want out of this?
If you're looking at just to make a buck, I can make a pretty good buck working with these other guys, but trying to get into their orbit is challenging because I kind of know how to sort of differentiate myself, but it's not the most pleasant work environment in my view. And I've done this with those kind of guys for so long, and I'm sort of worn out with it. And it's not about how much money I could make if I rev that up, but it's really about passing some stuff on too. I really do have kind of a desire to pass some things on because I've done all this over my career, and I really do like helping people and giving people instruction. So I think if it's listened to and they really benefit from it, because on smaller scales I've done this with people and they've made money, so I have no concern about whether I can help them do it. I can. So that really, and then I'm not awash with 500 people on my list that I've got to churn stuff out for, but I kind of I got the folks that absorb the monthly stuff, and then the folks that want to jump on board with me. That's kind of level 2, and the folks I go speak with periodically, et cetera. That's a very idyllic business model for me.
That's awesome. And so now then it just becomes, how do you get in front of those people? Like you just said, now that you know who it is you're looking for, it's easy to get those lists of people.
I have a real good idea of what their needs are. And as I get to know them, in fact, I can talk to a few of them now because I know a few. I can say, I can lay out my thinking, and just they can kind of tell me what would work and where their concerns are and what solutions they need and how to approach them. They'll tell me what to do.
That's just so great that now you get this sense of you don't have to have all the answers when you start out on the journey. You just have to know where the destination is, and that can really help, And I would start with the 50 people that you know already who are in that situation, and just say to them, just have that honest kind of conversation, and just say to them, I'm starting a new pilot program this fall, and I'm looking for a handful of people. Yeah, I'm looking at a handful of people, but here's where we're headed.
Gotcha.
And that, would you like to join us? That might be the best kind of interaction that you could have, because you get a sense of if it truly is a dream come true for them.
Yeah.
They'll let you know. That's part of the thing is we've started and identified kind of both ends of this, right? It's got to be a dream come true for you to keep you excited about it and fascinated and motivated by it. And then it really becomes, how can we, within that parameter of what you really want out of this, what to tap into your teacher's heart, and to really set up an environment that would be a dream come true for that beginning investor. Like it would, you think about it, it would be a dream come true if somebody would take them by the hand, show them exactly what to do, be there to guide them through it, be on that journey with them, and fast track their progress, at the same time helping them avoid the pitfalls and the mistakes, and the watch out for the traps and all the things that could go wrong, because you've seen all these things happen in your career. That just creates a win-win for everybody,
Well, this has been very, very enlightening, to say the least, because, again, I've been going in so many directions. Sometimes too much knowledge is a curse, too, because you can go into so many different directions that you finally find yourself at a standstill, and that's kind of where I've been, and thinking, I'm just spinning my wheels and not getting results, because I really didn't have a target market as such, which I feel like I really do now. And I know how to, I'm familiar with Halbert and all that, how to design a good letter and all that. So I think maybe this is, I can be off and running here. And plus, it'll take a big burden off, because I'm doing so many things. It's like, you drag yourself out to the office and think, here we go again, and, where's the payoff? And I'm not really helping anybody. I'm just, generating information. So now this has a payoff for both parties.
I love it. Well, I've enjoyed it, Scott. So what's going to be your action steps here? What do you think is
what I'm going to do? I put together both a combination of people that kind of know me through, emails and stuff like that. That's a handful. And people that I know, too, and maybe a few that, as an example, the guy that I just talked about in Durango pulling out the $6 million, he's got two sons, one of whom is in the real estate business. He's a broker for one of the, residential broker. And he's a smart guy, and he's been very successful there. So maybe his dad, who I work with, and his son, who I kind of loosely, kind of work around, or, try and bring into things I do to teach him, he might be a candidate. So it's funny, the guy that when I had breakfast with him this very week, he said, you know what you ought to do? He said, you ought to package your information and teach other people this stuff that you know. And I'm thinking, what do you think I'm doing?
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
I put on my broker hat for him, in helping him look at things. But then I had that other hat, which I never wore when I was with him, which was the training and stuff. But his son is a perfect candidate, because I know he wants to kind of move it. Anyway, long story short, I'm going to put together my list of folks, including some that I know are owners of fourplexes that may only know me through my newsletter, and I'm going to write a special letter to them as sort of early stage investors with with the ideas and even the questions. Say, look, my goal is to find a few folks that I can help along, and I'd like to know your concerns and what I could do to help you achieve what I'm trying to create for people, be it education or education with results.
Yep.
Let me hear from you, and we'll go from there.
I love it.
Wow, this is fun.
It is, isn't it?
I'll get to work today.
There we
and I'll
go.
drop a lot of crazy things I'm doing that aren't productive. That's even better,
right.
almost.
That's great. Well, Scott, I have really enjoyed this. You do have a real teacher's heart, and I think you're going to help a lot of people. So I'm very excited to.
I've followed you for some years now, and you and I met way back. I think it was an Atlanta event, and you seem to have crystallized, because I've listened to a lot of gurus and a lot of teachers and whatnot, and still respect many of them. But you're I don't know, the way you bring material and information to people is so useful and to the point, and certainly grounded in the real world results. So it's an honor to talk to you and have this private one-on-one time, which I know your time is really valuable, and I'm much really appreciate it. And believe me, at any level, because I've had a very good career, everybody can learn something new. Everybody. So I really
absolutely, and that's it. I think people are going to get. There's a lot of people listening who are in the exact same situation. Need some clarity, and I hope that this process of talking through how to get that clarity will, is definitely transferable to a lot of people. So thank you for sharing all of that.
I'll email you updates so you know how things are unfolding.
I love it. Perfect.
Thanks, you,
Scott.
Dean, and have a great weekend. And again, many, many thanks for the call.
Awesome. Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Well, there we have it. So what are our takeaways from this episode? As I'm reflecting on it, I think it was a very interesting to see how receptive or clarifying the exercise of starting with the end in mind, of getting a crystal clear picture of what Scott actually wanted this to look like, all the way from who does he want to help to, being in a classroom style, teaching people about a specific thing, about taking first time or early stage investors and helping them ramp it up. But the conversation to get to that clarity started with what do you really want? And I would encourage you to think that through. That was a very helpful thing, even for my own process. The way that I started my Breakthrough Blueprint events was through that conversation with Dan Sullivan that I shared with Scott, and to this day, spending those 3 days with people, going deep in applying the 8 profit activators to a variety of businesses is fascinating and motivating to me. I love doing those events. I do 9 of them a year, and I love to see the light bulbs come on for people as they're thinking about how this applies to somebody else's business, because they get the understanding of the principle. And so everybody leaves with a deeper understanding of how the 8 profit activators actually work. And in that way, understand exactly how they apply to their own business. Plus, we get to spend 3 days talking, and, imagine this conversation spreading out over 3 days. We've got clarity on who his target audience is. We've got now, imagine moving on and talking about how do we get those people to raise their hand, and how do we get them to engage in a dialogue and find the 5-star prospects, and what do we make as an offer to get them to start the first process with us, walking through all the way from Profit Activator 1 all the way through to Profit Activator 8. So I hope that conversation will help guide your thinking. If you're thinking about how to either start something or reinvent what you're actually working on right now. So that's very exciting. If you'd like to join us for one of the Breakthrough Blueprint events that I do, I'd love to have you. I'm doing over the fall here. I've got 2 more events coming up in Orlando in October and December. So if you would like to join us or get all the details, just send me an email, dean@deanjackson.com, or you can go to breakthroughdna.com, and there's a video and you can download the Breakthrough DNA book, and that will show you all about the 8 profit activators. Then of course, we'd love to carry on the conversation here at morecheeselesswhiskers.com. You can download a copy of the More Cheese, Less Whiskers book, and you can click on the Be a Guest link to join us and be a guest on the show. That's it for this week. I look forward to talking to you next time.